Jana from the Bath Township Public Library, and November is National Picture Book Month. Woohoo! Spirit fingers everywhere. So perhaps you didn't know about National Picture Book Month, but this literacy initiative was started by several authors and illustrators a few years ago to really celebrate and promote reading picture books, not just the month of November, but all year long, and how important it is. Yes, reading picture books can be a lot of fun, but it's also educational. Reading picture books promotes a lot of early literacy skills like print awareness. Now, that's a fancy way of saying like your child understands that print and the words on a page have meaning and that they relate to the pictures and they can be used to tell a story. Also, vocabulary. In fact, picture books have been shown to have 50% more rare words than most television shows. And of course, we already mentioned that picture books are fun to read, and they are, and nothing is going to beat that bonding time of having your child or your grandchild or your niece or nephew sitting next to you and sharing a picture book with you. It's a great way to learn about storytelling and being together and just sharing a wonderful time. So all that being said, I'm going to take a few moments to share some of my favorite picture books from the last 8 or 9 years that have been published. These are actually books that my youngest son is 5, and so these are some picture books that have become very popular in our household over recent years. The first of these is called Little Green Donkey, and this is by Anuska Alipus. I hope I am pronouncing that correctly. She is a Spanish author, and this is her first book. And when this first came to the library, my son refused to return it. And so we ended up actually buying him his own copy for Christmas because he loved it so much. I really, really hope like I said, this was her first book and it was published in 2019. So I hope more are on the horizon for her because it's a wonderful story. Little Green Donkey doesn't start out green. You see his ears there. But Little Green Donkey loves grass. It is his favoriteest thing in the entire world. And even though his mom tries to get him to eat other things, all he wants is grass. And you can guess what happens. He eats so much grass, he turns green. And he tries to hide it from his mom. There he is, all green. And of course she finds out. And so she convinces him that he has to eat some other things. And he doesn't like anything at all until he tries carrots. And he discovers carrots are so delicious. So as you can guess, he eats carrots and carrots and carrots until, you guessed it, he turns orange. This is a great story if you have a picky eater in your house, which all of us have picky eaters. If you have kids, you have a picky eater, probably. And we got to the point where every time my son hears this story, he had to have a bowl of lettuce and then a bowl of carrots because he wanted to eat along with Little Green Donkey. He was very disappointed when he did not turn green or orange, but this is a really fun story to read. So hopefully you will try Little Green Donkey, and hopefully Anuska Alipus will have new books coming out soon. The next one is called I Got the Rhythm, and this is written by Connie Schofield Morrison and is illustrated by her husband Frank Morrison. And this is the first of 3 books now that they have written and illustrated together. This is I Got the Rhythm, and then she's also got I've Got the School Spirit, and I've Got the Christmas Spirit. First of all, I think it's super cute because Connie and Frank Morrison were high school sweethearts that got married, and they have 5 kids together, and now they write and illustrate picture books together. To me, it's just the sweetest, happiest story ever. And I love these books. First of all, the text is full of onomatopoeia, which if you don't know what that means, onomatopoeia just means sound words like tink, tink, think, think on that page, beat, beat, shake, shake, clap, clap, ooh la la. In the I've Got School Spirit one, here's the vroom, vroom of the school bus and the sizzle, sizzle of eggs cooking, beat, bop. So all of the books have lots of that kind of sound words that are lots of fun for you to have your child make along with you. And so they can clap and knock their knees, can try to dance, which can be amusing when your child is like mine and not a very good dancer, at least a creative dancer. But these ones are just lots of fun. And the main character, actually all the characters, they just have so much joy, and they're exuberant and happy. They're just books that make you happy to read, and that's why I love them. They're just a lot of fun books to read and make noise with and smile, and these are sure to get your toes tapping and get you smiling along with her. So next we have Mother Bruce. This is by the author Ryan T. Higgins. He has some other books about Bruce, the bear, as well as about a dinosaur called We Don't Eat Our Classmates, which is about a little T-Rex dinosaur that tries to eat her classmates at school. And Ryan T. Higgins has just come out with a new book called Norman Didn't Do It, which is about a porcupine whose best friend is a tree, which is hilarious. But this one is still our favorite, the first one. Bruce is, as you can guess, a very, very grumpy bear. Very grumpy face. And he decides he wants eggs. So he finds some eggs and he's going to cook the eggs, but the fire is out. So in the time it takes him to go find some firewood, the eggs have hatched. And now he has goslings who think that he is his mother. And so he tries to take them back, and the mama goose is not there anymore. And of course they follow him, and he yells at them and tries to get them to go away and be really mean. And it doesn't work. They love him, and he is their mother now. So he goes about, trying to teach them how to swim and feed them. And then when it gets to winter and he's trying to teach them how to fly, of course that does not work, because how would a bear teach geese how to fly? So nothing's gonna work. And so they have to get on a bus to drive south for the winter, all of them together. So Ryan T. Higgins, his books are funny. They've got great colorful illustrations. His animal characters all have so much expression, which is a lot of fun, and they're really silly, and we always like books with lots of humor in my house, so these are one of our favorites. This one is also on Canopy. If you can go onto Canopy with your library card, and the Mother Bruce is part of the Storytime books that are available on Canopy, which is a lot of fun to watch, but much more important also just to read it. So we love Ryan T. Higgins, Mother Bruce especially. So another really funny author and illustrator that is popular in my home is Aaron Blaby. Aaron Blaby writes all the Pig the Pug books. And if you have an older child that is into chapter books, they are probably more familiar with the Bad Guys series, which is hugely popular with elementary age kids. In fact, I believe it is going to be made into either a television series or a movie this year. I was bought by DreamWorks, so maybe that'll be coming soon. Aaron Blaby is an Australian author and illustrator. I guess he used to be an actor too. But his books are super funny and ridiculous with huge, bright, funny illustrations, and they're just really goofy. My child, is a 5-year-old boy right now and loves anything that involves carnage or animals or somebody getting eaten. So this is about a piranha named Brian who is trying to convince all the other piranhas to eat bananas, and beets. They're like, no, we don't eat beets, we eat feet. And do you eat peas? No, we eat knees. And of course it gets to the best part. How about some juicy plums? And the piranhas are like, no, we eat bums. So 2 weeks after reading this book, my son was still running around the house yelling, piranhas eat bums. If that is going to bother you as a parent, better to stay away from this book. But if you think it's funny, which I do, this is a good one that is sure to have a lot of giggles. And of course, talk about healthy eating even, look at all this yummy fruit platter. And the piranhas do all try it. But, of course, they'd still rather eat bum. Like I said, super funny. All of Aaron Blaby's books are kind of that ridiculous humor that little kids love and are sure to be giggling at. So that's our favorite one by him. Piranhas don't eat bananas. Except for Brian, who's just weird. The next one is This was a Caldecott Honor book, and this is called Thank You Amu. Amu is the Igbo, which is the language spoke in parts of Nigeria, word for queen. And Oge talks about how it is the word she used to call her grandmother. And this one actually surprised me. We've had this one for a few weeks now, and I've read it over a dozen times. My son adores this book. And he usually tends to prefer stories that have a lot of humor in them. So it kind of surprises me how much he likes this, which I'm really glad because it's a beautiful story. So Amu makes a wonderful, delicious stew, and the smell goes out and it's wafting throughout her neighborhood. And of course, you know, little boy smells it and he knocks on the door and she gives him a bowl. And then another person smells and she continues every time the next person comes, there's a knock on the door and she gives them a bowl. So she's feeding everybody in the neighborhood. Now with my son, he loved, with the first person that knocks on the door, there's one knock. And then there's two, and then there's three, and so we kind of counted the knocks. And so it was some good counting, and my son liked doing the knocks himself. He also really was fascinated with kind of following the smell throughout the book and seeing who was going to smell it next and go in. Also, we live far out in the country, and even though we've kind of gone into smaller cities around us, he's never really been to a huge city. So kind of a book about a city with apartments and all these people all around. It was really fascinating to him, and we spent quite a bit of time talking about what an apartment building was and what it would be like to live in an apartment, especially with COVID. He hasn't been in a hotel or anything since he was a baby, so it's kind of a foreign concept to him, the idea of like not living with acres of pine trees around you like we have, which is interesting. So also, this is a great story for right now because Amu gives everybody in the town, everybody that comes and knocks on her door, she gives them a bowl of stew, and of course, eventually it's all gone. And then there's a bunch of knocks on the door, and everybody has brought something to share, and they all come together and they share together, and the little boy has given her a card, and he's written her a thank you card. And especially with Thanksgiving coming up and you're maybe going somewhere as a family for a big meal together, just the idea of writing a thank you card. And it doesn't just have to be for Thanksgiving for the meal, but to really write a thank you card for anybody that's important in your life or that has done something special for you. My kids will all tell you, I think writing thank you cards is really important. My kids have always had to write handwritten thank you cards. That's probably something that they're always going to remember, is me making them write out handwritten thank you cards to everybody for every birthday and every Christmas. And I just think it's kind of something that we've lost these days with phones and email and everything. I still think it's really important to handwrite letters and thank you notes. So I like that it talks about that in this book. But this is Thank You Amu by Oge Mora, and she has a couple of other books that are really beautiful too. But this one I've especially liked, and so has my son. Okay, so I mentioned to you, I realize I kind of have a theme here. Almost every book has been about food and eating, or animals eating each other. But here's another one. I mentioned to you already that my son loves carnage. This is one that we bought at the store recently. I actually bought this because I'm obsessed with sloths, and I just thought it was so funny, and now my son adores it. This sloth and a lemur find a cake, and they keep talking about everybody that they can invite to help them eat the cake, and they can't invite the elephant because the elephant will eat the whole thing, and the ants will take forever because they're too tiny, and the dolphins will show off and all this stuff. And so finally they decide that there's only one, that they just have to eat the cake themselves. So of course, the sloth and lemur eat the entire cake. And this one is really fun because it kind of has a bit of foreshadowing, and not to give it away, but you guys are probably all adults, so you can get it for your own child. I don't know if you noticed, but the cake the whole time has this orange and black striped candle on top. So who did the cake belong to? Well, it belonged to the tiger, who says, and they apologize for taking it, and he's like, I can still get it back. And notice he has a very full belly, and the cake is gone, and so are the lemur and the sloth. And if you have sensitive children that are really going to be bothered by this, don't read it. But my son thought it was hilarious that the tiger ate the lemur and the sloth and the cake. So, I mean, all kids are different. Some kids would be really bothered by that. Other kids think it's funny. I thought it was really funny. My son thinks it's funny. I don't know. Maybe that just makes us morbid and weird, but I think it's really funny, and I love this book, and so does my son. I think it's hilarious. And that is Oh Look, a Cake by J.C. McKee. The final one is written by Catherine Cristaldi, and it's illustrated by Christina Litton. This is I'll Love You Till the Cows Come Home. This is one of my favorite bedtime stories. It's also become my favorite gift for any new mom or baby shower. It is just a beautiful bedtime story. It reads like a lullaby, but it's also got a little bit of humor to it. So I'll love you till the cows come home. And the cows, of course, are shooting off into space, into skies unknown. And then there's yaks, which I kind of like because yaks aren't really a normal animal that you see in picture books. It's got some beautiful illustrations. Because it's a bedtime story, the illustrations they're detailed and gorgeous, but they're a little bit more muted. Lots of different animals, manatees, like I said, yaks, manatees. Those really aren't animals that you normally see in picture books. And so each page kind of ends, you know, I will love you till the wolves return. And I will love you till the frogs ride past on big wheeled bikes going super fast. So it just reads, it's a beautiful rhyming story. If you don't like to sing lullabies, you can read this book. It's almost like you're singing a lullaby. But it's just a beautiful little bedtime story. Like I said, it's quickly become one of my favorite bedtime stories to read to my son. And the ending, of course, I'll love you till the cows come home. And my son thinks it's super silly because they're astronauts. And who wouldn't want to see a cow in space? And that is the last one. So kind of ending on a bedtime story. So those are just a few of our favorite picture books that are more recently published. Of course, we all love Where the Wild Things Are and the Berenstain Bears. I hoped I showed you a few things that maybe you're not as familiar with, that are a little bit newer to you, and ones that maybe you'll check out for your little ones or the little ones you have in your life. Christmas is coming after all. And so I hope you enjoyed those and check them out yourself. Have a great night.